everyone, it's Nilani. So this is my mom, Julie Haviland, and she's visiting this weekend. So I thought we could take the opportunity to talk about being a parent of someone with type 1 diabetes.
Hello, everyone. I'm Julie. Mama Julie.
So as most of you know, I was diagnosed at age 8. So my parents had a really big part of my care when I was young. How did you deal with me just wanting to go back to regular life?
It was hard. It was so hard. We cried a lot together, all of us, all three of us. You just wanted to make it positive. We did a couple things right from the beginning. When we were in the hospital, we tried to find some kids and some other mothers and fathers that had gone through it, but that wasn't really possible. Nilani grew up on an island on Kauai in the middle of the Pacific, and there wasn't really a lot going on. We actually found a really great doctor who had an idea, and he introduced the Make-A-Wish program to Nilani in hopes that that would provide some incentive.
Yeah, we were really lucky.
We were really lucky. She was just so adamant about going back to her everyday life. It made it really difficult, and we needed some incentive. Her incentive at the time was Leonardo DiCaprio. Yeah, she really wanted to meet him.
That's not what ended up happening.
No, that's not what happened, but that's what she wanted at the time, and she was really into Titanic. Well, the doctor encouraged her to do what she needed to do to have a healthy life. He would check back, and when things were going well, he would introduce us into the Make-A-Wish.
How else did you turn it into a positive? Because now I feel like, thinking back on my life, diabetes has always been kind of a positive thing to me. I want to know how you were able to shape that outlook in me.
Well, from the very beginning, we were a team, and it was really a lot easier, I think, if you have a child than if, say, you got it when you were 21.
Yeah.
Because you were under our roof.
Right.
And, of course, we love you more than anything, and we just became a team, and our life was pretty much about your diabetes. And we did things like, we taught you how to poke yourself.
Yeah.
And we had to poke your dad mostly. He was a good pincushion.
Mm-hmm.
And he introduced what's called the daddy dollar.
So why don't you explain that to everyone? What's the daddy dollar?
So the daddy dollar was every time you would poke yourself or get a shot, you'd get $1. And that was incentive because there were things that you wanted.
And that was helpful because it made me want to keep track of my blood sugars, right? So I had to write everything down. At the end of the month, I would write a bill for my dad. Lucky for my dad, I wasn't a big spender.
You were never. You were a saver. We would write everything down, and we'd write down what you ate and everything. And at first, I got rid of all the sugar in the house. But then I realized that I really didn't need to do that. But we later found out, or as we went along, we found out that it was okay for you to have a few things here and there, rather than keep you from having everything.
So how did you teach me how to kind of make choices? Because when I think back, I don't really remember you telling me very often, you can't have that. How did you make it so that I was the one making the choices?
Because I usually gave you a couple choices. That way you had more control. And I think that was really important, because getting diabetes means you lose all control.
Right.
And so it was really helpful to help you have some of the control and then live with the outcome. It helped you to gain that independence.
So what's a good example of that as far as like food goes?
Every birthday party is about cake and pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Two things that are really hard on a diabetic. I think you decided way back when that you'd rather have the pizza than the cake.
Oh, did I?
You did.
I wonder if it'd be like that now.
I don't
Probably
know.
not.
Sometimes you wanted both.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you would have a little bit of both. But that meant we had to give you insulin at the time, or more insulin, or we had, because of
Right.
the pizza and the fat, we had to deal with that. And you could later not be feeling well. And
Right.
then I'd always make sure, though, that you knew that that's why that was happening.
Because I had made the choice to eat something that caused that.
The other thing we always taught you is that you can do anything, anytime, anywhere, if you just are healthy. You were young and still formidable, and you tried things, and if you didn't like the way you felt, you kind of figured it out.
Right, and then the next time I would make a different choice.
Not
Maybe after a couple of tests.
And then your friends were just awesome. Every time Nolani went to a party, instead of giving her a bunch of candy, she'd end up with the presents, little gifts. Do you remember that?
No.
You did.
That's pretty cool.
You would always end up with, all the other kids would get candy or whatever, and you would get these cute little presents of some kind. Everyone was so supportive.
What about when I went back to school? How did you deal with me going to school and not being with you all the time, and then bullies at school? That's one of the big things that kids even still today deal with.
Those kids in your school, actually, they all loved you too. Because I remember when you were at the hospital, remember when a bunch of them came to the school and they gave you this big card, and they sang songs, and they were just really awesome. But when you got back to class, of course, everyone was leery, including the teacher, including the principal. The kids were having a bit of a hard time because they were scared, and they were afraid they were going to get what you got.
They thought it was contagious.
So what we did, which was quite fun actually, is we went to your class, we talked to teachers, but going to your class was quite an eye-opener because kids could really ask a lot of questions. You could answer the question, I would have you answer the question, and mostly you could. See, she was a teacher from way back.
We would make like a little sign-up sheet so that the kids could come with me to the office to test my blood sugar and give me shots. Do you remember that? Because then they would know what I was doing, and it was never a secret, which I think helped me not get teased so much about it.
You were so open about it.
But I was the cool kid because everyone wanted to come with me to the office.
Oh yeah, you were always cool.
So I've talked a lot with my followers about meeting John and how he inspired me with the pump. How did you learn the pump so fast?
Well, there was a couple things that we did. One, we learned from John. Both your dad and I wore the pump for 3 days.
I do remember that. I remember being at the beach because one of the things was that we lived in Hawaii, so we went to the beach a lot. So we wanted to see how it would be at the beach. We were camping, I think. But we found out that it was doable.
But it was doable,
yeah. And even more so now, because now they have, all these amazing waterproof pumps.
So we wore it, and we both figured out that it wasn't scary to us anymore. We thought, okay, Nolani can handle this, and if it'll help her, let's do it. We also had an anniversary.
Why did you decide to make that day a celebratory day?
Because it was an important day. It changed all three of our lives. We wanted to make it a positive day.
Tell them about my charm necklace. Yeah.
We decided to give you a charm every year to represent another year of good choices.
So every year you gave me a charm symbolizing something that I accomplished that year.
Or something we did as a family.
So, but it was always something that reminded me that diabetes didn't hold me back that year.
Yes, and that was another key.
And she still does this. So then when do you think was the first time that you actually slept through the night after?
I knew you were going to ask that question. And it was well after you were gone to school.
To college. You guys were so involved in my care when I was young that I didn't really suffer too much from burnout until I had to kind of do it alone while I was in college. And that's when I really realized how hard it was. So how did how did you help me deal with my burnout when I was away from you?
That first semester was really rough.
Mm-hmm.
You had us by phone, but you didn't have us in person.
When I was younger, I don't think I ever really had to ask for help with my diabetes because you guys were always just right there. You know, my teachers, my friends. If I was taking a test in high school and my blood sugar was high or my blood sugar was low or something was off, all I really had to do was tell the teacher and I could take the test later, you know? And then once I got to college, I was in classes with 80 kids
Or
and
more.
they didn't know me. I mean, they probably knew my name, but they didn't know my life like they did in high school. So that was the first time, too, that I'd really been under as much stress and pressure, you know, with the finals and things like that. I'd never got that stressed in high school about all of that stuff. And then once I got to college, it became really, really difficult. And my first semester, my blood sugars were crazy during my finals week. That was the first time I'd ever experienced anything like that. And I didn't want to make excuses. So I just didn't tell anybody that my blood sugars were crazy. And I didn't ask for any help. And I ended up taking almost all of my finals with blood sugars in the 400s. And because there's limited time on your test, you know, all of you know, when your blood sugar is 400, it's really difficult to think. And I was taking chemistry and biology and calculus and all these really difficult classes. And I basically failed all of my finals my first semester. I ended up having to take one class over.
You were a good student otherwise.
Yeah, but I didn't fail my classes because I had good grades. But it really did hurt my GPA. And that was the first time that I figured out that, okay, maybe I need to ask for help sometimes and that it's okay to do that. So I think that's something that is important to do when you're in college, even if you don't necessarily need accommodated testing or you don't feel like you need accommodated testing. All that it takes is, you know, one test that your blood sugar is high or low and you can't think straight. Don't look at it as a crutch. Look at it as making it an even playing field for yourself with everybody else, because it's not fair that we have to take exams with blood sugars that make it difficult for us to think and remember things when everybody else, you know, doesn't have to deal with that. So as you guys can see, I've been really lucky to have such an amazing mom, and my dad's incredible as well. And I'm really grateful that I have this team.
And always will have this team.
Right.
So I just wanted to say a few things about Milani. And as a proud mother, she always enjoyed teaching. I mean, when she wore her pump, she wore it on the outside. She never hid it. And we encouraged her to do that. When you got into school, you just had this passion. She's always had passions, different passions, you know, but this one has been a constant since she was basically 8 to 10 years old. And we've never been, I mean, we were just always so proud of her, but what she has done, what she has created is just wonderful. She's created a great life. She has gone to school. She has worked so hard. Because of your diabetes, that's who you are. Mm-hmm. And who we are proud of and who we love and, you know, who is helping other people.
Thanks.
Oh, I love you so much.
Love you too. I know you learned a little bit more about my life, but I hope you learned a little bit about, you know, how to help a kid with type 1, whether it be your own kid or maybe your friend's friend or, you know, anybody. And a lot of it is just teaching. And so
it does take a village.
It takes a village. Okay. Thanks for watching, you guys.